I'm Terry Hudson, and I'm here today with Joseph Gallo, which is an artist that I work with, absolute incredible pop singer. And today we're going to talk about versatility in the music industry. Welcome,
Yes,
Joseph.
Sir. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I obviously love your talent, and that's what drew me to you at first. But one of the things that I found in the music industry is that people can have talent, but they never go anywhere because they don't have the follow through. And when I met you, I started, seeing that you had real follow through, and you did some things that were just different than I was seeing other artists do. You actually looked at the industry as a whole. You got really, dedicated to it, and you had a solid plan. But what caused you to think that way?
When I started looking at colleges and things, I was looking to go into music performance, take the route of delving into that, because that's what I've been doing throughout, most of my life. And my parents actually came up to me and said, that's actually the exact reason why you shouldn't go into music performance, because you have been working on this in a way. Let's delve into something that will create more versatility. And they also kind of looked at it as a backup plan as a time. It's like that's your hobby. Music is your hobby, but what's your job going to be?
Well, I love that because they weren't the typical parents in a situation like this that were just saying get a day job. Right. They were telling you more to get a day job with a purpose,
right,
that still led to your dream.
Yes, yep. It was still involved in music. They still wanted me to pursue music, but just in a way, because performance like that takes a long time to bring up. Like I'm graduated 2020, so it's been about 3 years out of college, and I'm still trying, to build this thing. So I delved into recording and production. That's what they recommended me to do, and I was a little bit against it at the time, or I wouldn't say against it, just didn't think about it. But I started looking at it a little bit more, started meeting with some engineers in the community, and they started showing me some things. And I'm like, I'm not a tech guy at all in any way.
I would never, just knowing you, anybody that knows you would never, ever believe that you're not a tech guy.
Yeah. Well, it just wasn't. I was like, I can't type, words in 1 minute and things like. I was like, I'm not a computer guy, tech guy in any way. And I actually visited this guy. His name's Tim McGuire. I visited his studio, his home studio. I took a look at it, and he started talking about, clocking sources and microphones and things like that, and a bunch of different DAWs, like Pro Tools, Logic. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. But he wanted to record me, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going into record music, and get some stuff, just to put out on SoundCloud. And I was also using that as a way to actually get into the recording program at App State. That's where I went. And this was something where I was able to put in, because they required like cover letter and an essay, sending in.
So you actually had to learn business skills,
yes,
as well as just being.
Well, it wasn't. So I had to get into the school, and this is what all the music industry studies, people had to do. I had to get into the school, just App State in general. Then I had to get into the Hayes School of Music, and then I had to get into the recording program. I had to do basically 3 separate applications and had to get into each one. The recording one was very selective. It was 15 people every year, so it was tough to get in, and so I went into that studio, learned, as much as I could. I took a bunch of notes. I'm like, I don't understand any of these notes, but I took them so I could take a picture, send them in, just be like, hey, I did this. I've been around this. I want to show initiative. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I got into the program.
Well, now that you know this, let me ask you. They have singers and performers that listen to this at rBeatz. We have those. And why is it so important for a performer to understand the studio instead of just walking in?
It's
record?
There's a lot of really subtle things with recording that it's not just helping the recording engineer, it's helping you as an artist. It's making your recording sound better, it's making your art sound better. If you're far away from the mic or whatever, you're not getting as much, harmonics of your voice out there. Like it's just little things like that, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but it really makes a world of difference for the engineer where they don't have to put as much focus on editing or, trying to figure things out in that way, and can really focus more on like the craft. It helps create a workflow for the artist and for the sound engineer or producer, and just makes life easier. I'm saying it in a biased standpoint in a way, but yeah, it's definitely helpful for artists to know that in that way, and not just in the recording aspect of things, but also in live production, because we're still using studio mics like they're live mics, or they're different, more dynamic microphones and things. But
right now you're focusing on your career, and we're going to talk to you more about your music. But I want to ask you, being you do this as part of what you do, is you produce music and you do live sound. Are you interested in the future in producing other artists? Is that something that's part of your?
Of course, 100%. Yeah, I'm helping a couple of people out right now with some projects. I can't talk too much about it, but I've been working on producing. I actually just moved into a new apartment. I used to have a 1-bedroom, so it was like all my computers and tech equipment, and then my bed right next to it. So it was so crammed. So I got a 2-bedroom now, so I can like focus on soundproofing, like a separate room, and then be able to record in there, be able to mix, and just have a really nice room for it. I can't deal with clutter. It just really distracts me all the time. So
I've just seen actors that are moving into directing now, directing their own movies.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of musicians that have a side gig as a producer, and it turns into a big thing in itself. So I knew you had that, and just wanted to find out more about that from you.
Yeah.
In case anyone was listening that
of course
would probably like to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you and your music.
Sure.
So you have learned the technical aspects around everything, but you're also an amazing live performer. That
Thank you.
When I first started talking to you, I remember you were so discouraged you couldn't even get a date. Like you couldn't get any gig in town. You were calling people and nobody was responding, and now you're booked all the time.
Yeah.
you're I remember I tried to get you just to sing for me for my engagement, and I couldn't even find a night that we could do that. So how did that process work? How did you get in such demand all of a sudden?
It was, I interned for a I Voted Festival was the name of it. If you vote and come in with an I Voted sticker, then you get to attend this performance. And that was kind of their way of admission, and they partnered with the venue, to make that happen. So when COVID hit, it was based on contacting artists, and the artists would help promote, and then you wouldn't have access to the website of like 600 plus artists, performances, and span of like, I think a night or 2 nights. I don't remember. It was a little while ago. But basically, we had to call people. And I was not comfortable with calling people. I feel like my generation is not comfortable.
That excuse from artists all the time, and I understand it. Phone fear is real.
Right.
But that is the key to getting gigs, and they'll send out 50 emails and wonder why they're not getting contacted back because they're not following it up in some other way. Yep. And while phone fear is real, that fear is keeping you from getting what you need, which are the concert gigs, and we know how much live performance means. What does that mean? Let's just talk about that. Is live performance, how important is that in everything you do?
Oh, incredibly. With live performance, when I'm playing for venues, it's not just money. It's the the consumers. It's the fans that we're reaching out to, because the internet, it's great in things, but like, for reaching people out, but I get, like, when I look at my streams and things, it's like a couple people from different states and different countries even, and creating a local fan base is a big thing for creating an audience, because you create a local fan base, then you have enough audience in the region for when other artists that have bigger fan bases come in, you can be like, hey, you're coming to perform here, I have a local fan base here and can bring more people to your shows, so let me open for you. And I wouldn't say let me open for you, it's like, hey, can I open for you guys? This is I feel like I can bring people to this venue, and it can give you guys a bigger audience. It can give me a bigger audience, and it's a win-win. Win-win relationships are like huge in basically any business, you know.
And do you do a call to action, drawing people back to your social media when you're there live? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I ended up getting banners from like Vistaprint, and I need them adjusted because it's like an acoustic solo. It's like this huge thing, and I'm like, this is a little excessive right here, you know. So I'm working on getting like some smaller banners for that acoustic show. But yeah, like I put down my social media because check out, you know, the email list, check out social media so you can see what shows we're playing next, and you can be a dedicated fan and come and attend. Every time I play original music, I'm like, hey, this music is streaming. If you enjoyed this live performance, check it out online. If it's a song you jam to, you know, it's like, would love to have you jam to this in the car, you know?
Right, because if you don't tell them and they don't discover you, they might be missing out on something.
They don't know. Yep. And there are times, like, I just would say to artists, don't get discouraged if no one's listening. You know, there are so many times where I'm like, check out social media, check out, you know, this music, this original music. And it's like, no one's even listening. But there might be, you know, in a crowd of 50 people in a venue, there might be that one person that's listening, you know. If, you know, when I have a gig, if I get one more follower on my Instagram, it's like, it's still a good day, you know. I still gained a fan.
Fans are so important. They're the lifeblood of everything you do. That's what the music is for. And, you know, I do feel that artists could pay more attention to their fans. And as a fan that stands out in the audience, to be acknowledged in some way. What are some things that you do?
For fans to be acknowledged, I mean, every time I post on social media, I say that I'm looking forward to seeing my fans there. You know, it's like, can't wait for you guys to show up. I try to respond to every single comment and just, you know, just really be down to earth. You know, be personable. So thank you. Yeah, it's just,
I've seen that win over a lot of people, you know, at live events.
Right.
With you.
Yeah.
So tell us about your first project that you released last year. Tell me the title and what you have on it.
So I released a full album. It was called Roaring 20s. It was all self-produced. So that was kind of a huge undertaking in a way. I never, like, I produced, you know, obviously throughout college and things for some other artists and things. And this was like, I always thought, I'm like, I need to make an album and it needs to happen. I really need to focus on my songwriting, and it would be great practice for my craft. And I just want to get something out there that reflects me, you know, and I'm an artist. It's like, I want to get something out there that just reflects what I want to share with the world. And I consider myself a pretty optimistic guy, so it's an optimistic album. And it was an album where I think optimism was really needed. So I was really happy with, you know, the time that it was released. But
what timing was it released?
It was released like during COVID, like shortly.
Yeah, that was a great choice.
What was going on? Yeah, and the title is related to that too. It's called Roaring 20s because, you know, 2020, it felt like such a low time because we didn't know what was going to happen. And everyone can relate to that. But
well, you know, one thing that did happen is it leveled the playing field, you know, for artists like yourselves.
Definitely.
Because I had friends that, you know, were on the major tours, and all of a sudden they would call me and they would tell me they're delivering pizzas or they're working for Uber or whatever it is, some other job that they're driving, which were great jobs for them at the time. But it was a machine that took so long to get back up and running that it was a great time for the independent artist to do concerts online and to also be able to go fill that gap, 100%. You know, when things were opening back up. And that affected you? Yeah,
definitely. I was looking at internet at New York, and New York was kind of, you know, it still is in a way like this top music city where it's like, oh my gosh, I need an intern at a studio here. This is how I can break into the industry. If I'm anywhere else, I can't break in. I can't do anything. And then COVID hit, and then like all these industry professionals were like, I had to move back to the state, you know, with my family that I used to live in, and it really just created like a different kind of aspect of the industry. Just like everyone, you know, we're we're just all working together. It's an industry where we're all just kind of in, like, we're in the same place, you know. We're all looking for the same thing, and it seems like there's this hierarchy of status, and I would get my mind so delved into that too, you know. Also with me being like an insecure early 20-year-old, you know, or 19, and I'm like, I need to get, you know, connected with these people because that's the only way. It's either go big or go home, and it's not that. It's a gradual process. It's
versatile.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, you know, versatility, like we were saying at the beginning, versatility is the key. A lot of people, they want to come into this and they just want to be a singer performer, as we said, but learning these other aspects, like you have learned, that's the key in, not depending on a specific contact. One of the things with me, people come to me and they'll say, you know, so-and-so producer, and can you give them my demo? Well, that producer may have had, you know, 15 hits, but they may not have anything current, or they may not have their hand on, or you know, their hand on what's coming up, you know, in the next 3 years. And if you have that versatility, you know what's going on, you're studying the industry yourself like you have done and learning these, you know, other parts of it, then you have a better chance of finding who you need. It could be an unknown producer, but you have the eye for it, so it takes you somewhere you don't expect.
Right, definitely.
Let me ask you, what is your favorite song on Roaring Twenties?
On Roaring Twenties, let's see. I would say my favorite song on that is probably Exhale.
Tell me about Exhale.
So Exhale was a song that I wrote. The song has, there's a couple of things behind it. There's relationship, you know, feelings behind it, which I feel like a lot of songs have, you know, it's pretty typical. In a way, there's also kind of a religious kind of aspect behind it that I've, you know, kind of tapped into a little bit. So I consider myself, you know, pretty strong in my faith. And that song was through the stress of just my life, knowing that I had someone that I loved near me, gave me the opportunity to exhale. I'm like, I could breathe out because I know that there was someone by my side, someone to support me, whether it's a divine entity or whether it's a person, whether it's a partner, you know. I can sit down, I can exhale, I can breathe out, just relax because I know that there are people that are here for me.
All right, and that's what I loved about the song, and even what you're saying there is it's up to the listener to interpret.
Right.
And when you have that, it becomes so personal to people.
Yeah.
You know, music is a soundtrack of life.
Right.
You know, everybody can remember where they were when they hear a certain song. That's why we use it in movies. You know, that's why we use it in television shows, and it's the same thing with our lives. There are moments that are defined because in our memory we can hear that certain song, and having one, and you know, writing from an angle where you are just letting the listener interpret it as what they would want to in their own lives and their own situations. I think that's another great way to interact with the fans. When we were talking about making the fan important, that's something I think would be great for more artists to do, is just have them involved in that way. Your music is more than just something they're humming to. It becomes so personal to them because it means something at a certain moment in their life. Right.
So I was actually listening to the song Wishing Well by Juice WRLD. That's a big song that I didn't, you know, I don't struggle. I'm blessed to not be struggling with drug addiction and things, but that song, he is so vulnerable about talking about, you know, his drug addiction and things. And I love the lyrics because he's like, I still try even though I'm not gonna fail. And he's just so vulnerable with his lyrics. And I don't know if I'll ever get the courage to be that vulnerable in my own music, you know, with some things, but it was, you know, I feel like just those songs are just so relatable to people. And I wanted people to relate in a way like that someone always has your back, even though you might not think so, or, you know, just if you feel alone, that there are always people there for you. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when you were recording this album, you didn't have a band yet.
No, I didn't.
And so, who played the instruments?
So I played all the instruments. I did all the production, and I was really happy with the way it turned out. And I guess after I finished that album, I wanted to start, and I always wanted to delve into the live performance, but I'm like, now I have an album. I need to get this out there. I want people to hear these songs and these, perspectives so they can, just, hopefully really ponder and think about life in a certain way and just bring this sense of optimism to people at a time where it was needed. So, I had to start looking at bandmates, started looking into people to work with, and
you found some great ones.
Oh yeah, the guys I work with, I just can't say enough about them. They're such down to earth, amazing people. I love working with them. They're really good friends. There are some guys that I just kind of met that year, and then there were some people that I knew for a while and just didn't. This was the project where I'm like, I would love to work with you guys on this, and let's chase this together. Let's chase this dream together.
So did you put on an ad like they did with U2? You put on the school
I did
board?
In a way, yeah. There were a couple of like Facebook pages that I reached out to. There were, and I got some musicians. It took a lot of auditioning, though. It was kind of a grueling process in some ways, and I met some really good people, but it was tough to find people that fit the project or were just as passionate about it as I was. It took a while because music is always kind of viewed in a way as a hobby, and it is a hobby, but there were some people where it's like, hey, I'd love to work with you. These are the dates available, but I have a full-time job, and I'm like, well, I want to try and shoot for this full-time, and there's no nothing wrong if you can't do that. Like, I don't judge or anything. There's just
that's another part of versatility.
Yeah.
Is that in this day and age, you don't have to be a full-time musician to be a successful musician.
No,
you can play as much as you want. You
right.
can, market as much as you want, and you can basically choose your path.
Right. You
were wanting to choose full-time, so you need people that align with you on something like that.
Yeah,
Can you tell me about them?
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. I'll start with our keys player. His name's Luis. Really nice guy. I've been friends with him for quite some time. He was just. I worked with him at this festival, which you were actually a part of, called Festa Italiana. And he was just another act. He was a classical pianist, phenomenal pianist still, like he picks up things just like that. It's like,
I was so used to him being classical that when I saw him playing with you, I just couldn't even believe it was the same person.
Right. Yeah. He's got a crazy amount of talent. And it's so interesting how classical music delves into like modern music, like I sang opera in college. He studied classical piano. Our drummer Jack, he's working like he's playing jazz right now. Like he was at CPCC. He's actually going to be going to Berkeley this year, so we're really excited for him about that. But like there's so many classical roots. Like the way I sing opera is really toned into how I sing pop as well, and it doesn't sound like it, but there's a lot of things I learned there, and I actually tried sharing some stuff on like TikTok and things because I'm like, let's try and delve into like some vocal instruction just on like how I've tried to sing things, see if it relates to anyone, because all throughout high school there was kind of like this. There was this thing to being a tenor and singing high. And I'm like, I want to learn how to hit those notes. So I'd be like up in my room, literally screaming. And my dad would be like, shut up. Not really. But,
the first thing ever.
He's like, you sound like you're screaming.
The first thing I ever heard you sing was when you were doing the cover of Queen's Somebody to Love at the open mic. I mean, that was amazing, the notes that you were hitting back then. And I think it was your guitarist that, to me, you met in one of the oddest places to find a band member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my guitarist, his name's Mitch, and I actually met him at the gym. And our first meeting was kind of funny. He wasn't just like a gym goer. He was the personal trainer. He still is the personal trainer at Planet Fitness. about like 2 or 3 weeks into classes, I checked him out on social media, gave him a follow, and I saw a video of him just like, looked like a skater dude in a beanie, and he was just playing like some guitar riffs. I'm like, this guy's pretty solid at guitar, and I'm looking for a guitarist. He's a really nice guy, someone that's really easy to work with. He's ripped and he does personal training, so I know he has the work ethic. So I ended up asking him, like, hey man, would you be interested in doing a band? And he's like, yeah, totally, let's do it. And I've had conversations with him, after the fact, and he's like, when you said joining a band, I thought it was just a pastime, like, let's do it for fun. And he's like, I didn't realize how serious it was going to be, in a good way. Yep. He's like, oh, we're actually doing this, His
dream too.
Yeah. So I told him, I'm like, all right, cool. 2 weeks, we'll bring you in. We'll have you practice for 2 weeks, and then we got a show in Boone. So, and then next week we'll be in Charlotte, and then next week we'll be doing this. And he's like, oh, this is actually a thing. I really got to practice. So, he sent me an appreciation later, just like, dude, I really appreciate that you took me in for this, because it really helped me get back into practicing and really, hone in on this craft of playing guitar. And I've been playing with all these guys for a year now, and Mitch particularly, because he was like, he was not a perfect guitarist. He still isn't. None of us are perfect musicians in any sense of the word, but we're constantly working, we're constantly improving. Like, you don't have to get perfect musicians if they have the mentality of improvement and moving forward and working.
Right. It's the only way to growth.
Right. Yep. Yeah. If you get, like, I'd rather get someone who knows, a couple of chords, a couple of scales, than the most phenomenal lead guitarist in the world, but with an ego just through the roof.
Right.
That's not someone I want to work with. That's not someone I want to tour with, or,
I think that's also what's made you popular with promoters and club owners is the fact that you are easy to work with. Your guys are easy to work with. They know a lot of people don't realize this in festivals. This is something you're good at. But when you are part of the acts on a festival, you have to be on that stage and off that stage by a certain time.
Right.
You got a certain amount of time to tear down your equipment for the next band to be able to set up and go on. And promoters have always, told me this is one of their biggest complaints, and you guys are so good at that. And that really is another part of it. It's not just about singing again. It's not just about performing, but understanding the versatility of it, that it is a business, and that you do have to, come in a professional manner.
Yep.
And leave a good taste, with people, so that they want you back. Working with the gatekeepers, and you picked a great band, not just of great musicians, but people that are easy to work with.
Definitely.
And, and they flow so well.
Right. Yeah.
And now that you have them, it seems you're working on a new project.
Yes. Yep. So I've been just finishing up. I've been songwriting and producing. Like, there are a couple of songs that are just totally done, like, good to go on this new project. And then, and then there are some songs that are like 3/4 of the way there, and then I'm still songwriting a little bit, trying to figure out, those last couple of songs to throw on the album. And with this new album, I really want to focus on bringing in some of my bandmates that have been playing with me, because the Roaring Twenties album, like, it's a solid album, but it's all only my ideas, and I want artistic flavors from different directions. Like, I want to add some spices to my album, And so I've been having Jack, my drummer, which I should talk about him for a second, but I've had him record a couple of drum tracks on these albums, and they just makes it pop so much more, like, just some of that acoustic instrumentation in there. And he's someone, like, his influences are like Polyphia and all prog rock stuff. So he's always focusing, like, I'm getting this cymbal, I need to get this specific thing. Like, he bought a cymbal for me because he's like, this sounds like the clap in your tracks. And then he got a second snare, being like, this sounds like this one song, and I really want to implement this in the shows and things. So he's really showing initiative. He has such a passion for the music, and he's only, gosh, how old is he right now? I think he's 19. He's like 18 or 19, like crazy young.
And he's so much fun live at the concerts.
Yeah. And he's got like the best personality in the world. He is the sweetest guy. He's so down to earth. You know, he's been through some things in his life that just, you know, he shouldn't have gone through, but he's come out as like just so mature for his age, such a good person, genuine guy.
And all of those backgrounds do. I mean, you talk about people going through stuff, but all of those backgrounds do add so much when you're bringing new material to an album.
Yep. And the way I met him, and this is kind of going back to versatility in the music industry, I met him through being a host at open mic. Like I hosted open mics at pubs. I still host an open mic right now and still find some musicians where it's like, hey, if Mitch can't make it or if Jack can't make it, this might be a guy I could reach out to. Or like these could be people that could open for me or I could open for them. Like it's all collaboration in the community. This year I really want to delve, you know, more into that. Last year was kind of, it's crazy to think about. Last year was my first year performing live shows. And really delving into that. The year before, a
lot of live shows.
Yeah. I mean, I counted. We just did. I think it was like 96 live shows for the year, which was just insane. Like that totally surpassed my goal. And it was just all that it took was persistence. It took persistence. It took practice. It took calling people. And I wouldn't ask like, hey, I want you guys to book me. I would be like, what's your process for music booking? Because I want to go down the channels that they want me to go down. I want to cater, you know, a client in a way. Like you kind of got to get
offering value.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like I got to get rid of my ego in a way, or an artist needs to get rid of their ego to talk to a venue being like, hey, what can we do for you? And that's kind of in terms of any job, like being a sound engineer or producer. There are some things that after I help produce a track, the artist is like, can we do this? And I'll be like, I don't like the way that sounds, but that's the way the artist wants it. So I need to let that go and allow that, you know, to happen.
It's their art.
Right. It's their art. I am providing a service for them. And I want to keep my relationship with them. You know, I want to get booked again.
Versatility is not just about having different trades, you know, different knowledges. Versatility has a lot to do with flexibility as well.
Right.
And you know, that's what you're saying, I feel.
In the grand scheme of things, there's just so much growth that's made. And it's just a constant process, you know. And even when I get to the place that I want to be or that I'm shooting to be at, I want to still be in that growth process mentality of like just keep building, keep trying to, you know, move things forward with this business. So
and you will. I've known you for a few years now, and I've watched you from your beginning, and nothing has shaken you, and nothing has changed you. You're still the same. Everybody thinks you're the nicest guy that I hang around, and you know it's just always so great, man, to be able to sit down with you and talk, whether it's behind these mics or, you know, when we're at a coffee shop.
Of course, likewise.
The places we met or backstage somewhere.
Definitely.
You're just an incredible guy. And
thank you.
Not just talent, but you are the epitome of what I try to tell artists when it comes to, you know, if you really want to reach your fans, if you really want your music to be out there, you got to know about the industry. And you have to have that side plan. Because even the bigger artists, you know, they'll say, if you're going to do this, there's no plan B. But that plan B should happen. It just needs to be part of what you're doing. Because as an artist, sometimes you have a shelf life of 5 years.
Right.
You know, if you're fortunate, then you could go on, you know, 20 years like you see some of the majors do. But a lot of times the biggest hits of that decade, they can have 5 or 10 hits in a row, and then you don't hear from them again other than the tours when they come back out playing for you know, those particular albums. Some of them have become producers. Some of them have become promoters. You know, some of them have moved into television and acting. But understanding the industry and understanding how it pertains to your dream and how it's personal to you gives you longevity. And having that versatility is going to be the key. The music industry now, if you don't have the versatility, you just don't have a shot.
Yep.
And I would love to see more artists like you who not only take that initiative, but keep their head and keep their, not just ego in check, but just you have remained such a down-to-earth, nice guy. And it's not just, you know, that it's all me. It's how can I give back?
Right.
You know, how can I offer value? and that's important to your fans. It's important to the industry, and just thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was a pleasure talking with you, Terry.
And thank you to Joseph Gallo. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Terry Hudson, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.